So coming up next, may I invite Mr. Juan Benet, founder of Protocol Labs, to share with us an online keynote speech. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give a round of applause to Mr. Juan Benet.
Hello, everyone. My name is Juan. I'm here to talk to you about Filecoin scaling and the FDM. I wish I could be there with you today. Unfortunately, I can't, but I'll be there in Hong Kong starting tomorrow. All right, let's get started. Web3 brings trust to internet interactions, and we want to make all of our transactions online verifiable through using cryptography and cryptoeconomic rules. But in order to empower all of our applications, Web3 needs to be able to scale to handle the level of transactions that most applications do. And today, that's just simply not the case. Blockchains have way too small to be able to handle the kinds of operations that most applications online do. So we're tackling that in Filecoin by creating a massive scale storage network that can truly scale to the needs of these kinds of applications, and by building a compute network on top. And that's where FDM is really critical. So the Filecoin master plan is divided into 3 parts. Step 1 is to build the world's largest decentralized storage network. Step 2 is to onboard and safeguard humanity's data on that network. And step 3 is to bring computation to the data to enable those massive scale applications. Now, step 1, we've already accomplished. We have already the world's largest decentralized storage network. There's about 3,800 storage providers around the world in 44 countries, providing about 13 exabytes of capacity, which is truly an astonishing scale of a network. This is already rivaling massive scale centralized storage networks. The network is a professional. It has hardware and service providers that are operating a storage facilities similar to the ones that you have in centralized cloud providers. So this is not just kind of like random small computers and so on. It's really a professional network to be able to handle professional scale applications. It's also becoming one of the greenest storage networks on the planet because we're through the Filecoin Green program, we're able to connect the energy use of the Filecoin network to renewable energy through new renewable energy markets, which is an amazing application of blockchain systems as well. Now, step 2, this is where we're focusing a lot of our efforts today, is to onboard and safeguard humanity's data. I'm going to be focusing on step 3, the computation layer in this talk, but I'll touch on this a little bit just so you get a sense of how the network is growing. So last time I spoke at one Hang event was in September, I think 20th or so last year. And since then, the network has grown an enormous amount in terms of data onboarding. We now have about 765 petabytes of data. That's 4x since in the last 6 months or so. And the data onboarding per day is at a 4 to 5 petabytes scale. So we're talking about a 3x increase since then, and it continues to grow. So and we'd love to check in with this graph the next time in the next conversation to just see how big the network is. And so this is astonishingly big compared to anything else in the crypto ecosystem. We're talking about many orders of magnitude larger than all other decentralized storage networks and applications that are way larger than everything else. About 1,400 clients, so 1,400 clients are uploading all of this data to Filecoin. About 23% of them upload more than 100 terabytes. So these are pretty serious operations, large applications with lots of data. In addition to, of course, like handling thousands of small applications. Now the data is being onboarded into Filecoin through a set of use case specific on ramps that help onboard data that are targeted for specific applications. And of course, the Filecoin Plus cryptoeconomic mechanism, which enables a much better cost structure than the centralized cloud. So Filecoin Plus is a really critical component of making Filecoin be competitive relative to the centralized cloud. So there's tons of users using Filecoin through onboarding on ramps like Web3.storage, which is one single application targeted towards small applications. And since the last time that we checked in, which we had about 20,000 users, now we have 50,000 users. So it's more than doubled since the last time we talked. And we now have close to 100 million uploads in the network, which is through this on-ramp, which is huge. NFTO storage, which had about 57,000 users last time we talked, now has 128,000. So again, more than doubled. And we went from 89,000 uploads to now over 89 million application NFTs to now over 120 million. So this is really a huge growth rate for these on-ramps. There's all kinds of specific applications in different productivity, games, video, music, social networks, and so on that are starting to use the Filecoin network to be able to back up and serve all of the data in their applications. And there's hundreds of large data sets stored in the network, and you can think of massive scale scientific projects, like major experiments in the world are now choosing to use Filecoin to back up their data. And also several cities are starting to use the Filecoin network to archive their data or make it usable, make it accessible to lots of researchers and consumers of data. So a lot of these users come to Filecoin because of the strong verifiability that we get thanks to the proofs of replication that Filecoin offers. The kind of tamper-proof log that shows that storage providers have been storing that data and where that data has been stored. And they also are looking forward to the computation capabilities that Filecoin can enable with FVM and more. The onboarding is also assisted by new kinds of economic structures that enable new ways of composing storage primitives. So this is BD is a storage platform that uses an auction mechanism to be able to connect clients to the best possible deals from storage providers. And this is enabling like very interesting economic structures. So now the network is growing massively. There's an enormous amount of data. Now let's bring computation to that data. And that's what a lot of the network has been focused on. We just had a huge release about a month ago of the FVM. So what's FVM? FVM is a component that brings computation to the Filecoin network. So this adds smart contract capabilities. And on top of that, we're going to layer other things like compute over data networks, applications, and so on. The FVM project is now used by a ton of different applications and builders in the community to run their applications. So I'll go through those in a moment. And just diving into the technical details of FVM. So it is a runtime based on WebAssembly. So at the very core, FVM has a WebAssembly hypervisor. And it's built to support many different runtimes. So you can plug in the EVM. You can use other WASM runtimes from other blockchains that use WASM. You can use SES, which is a version of JavaScript. You can mount LVM, IR, and so on. So it's built as a multi-VM platform to enable interoperability across the entire blockchain space and to many other kinds of operations. So you can think of it as a blockchain that is meant to connect to lots of other networks. Now, FVM is launched with Ethereum compatibility as the first runtime. And so that means that you can run EVM smart contracts and you have full Ethereum address support, Ethereum account support, and so on. So you can connect the FVM runtime to any other EVM compatible runtime. The EVM runtime Filecoin has all the standard things that you might expect from other EVM runtimes. It is compatible with the other networks, and it also includes some specific Filecoin system calls that enable Filecoin specific functionality. So think of being able to issue smart contract calls to be able to store data in the network or to check proofs and so on. So you have all of the operations that are native to Filecoin accessible through FVM system calls. And the gas accounting is following sort of the Filecoin rules. So it's a slightly different gas model, but it follows EAP 1559 and so on. Now, FVM enables a ton of applications to be built on Filecoin that are just not possible in other blockchains, and certainly not possible in other storage networks. So think of bringing the possibilities of smart contracts with the ability to issue storage operations for large amounts of storage and then being able to issue computation over that data. So think of being able to create applications that can check whether something has been stored, or issue contracts for certain kinds of data, and so on. Like I mentioned, there's a huge community of builders. There's also a set of programs that support early stage builders called the FEM Foundry. And there's been a ton of hackathons already that lots of, thousands of people have been playing around with FEM and building projects for. So look out for the next one. I think it's going to be announced like relatively soon. So now I want to dive into some of the specific things that people are building with FEM. So kind of what becomes possible. So one thing that is desperately needed in the ecosystem is to be able to have much better storage provider marketplaces for being able to lease Filecoin, to be able to use it in terms of pledge collateral. And so there's already several projects doing this. One of them is Glyph. The Glyph staking pools enable that kind of connection between Filecoin token holders and storage providers to be able to connect the sort of the capital required to fund the storage provider operations. And so this is going to be a hugely important component of the Filecoin ecosystem. There's also all the other standard DeFi style operations that you would want, everything from AMMs to other various different kind of loan structures and pools and all of the kind of DeFi power that people have come to expect from many other smart contract chains. And so FEM is designed to enable porting all of those kinds of systems into Filecoin. The FEM also enables perpetual storage deals. So think of being able to now enable not just kind of fixed duration deals, which is the basic primitive the Filecoin offers, but now being able to have perpetual contracts of being able to store things for in perpetuity based on smart contract rules. So all of the deals are automatically renewed, detecting failures of certain storage providers and being able to replicate the data and move it to other places. So all of this people are already building on FEM. There's one specific version of this, which is the permanent NFT storage contracts. So NFT of storage, which is a service that that runs on Filecoin, is now doing this for all of the NFTs that it stores. Now, of course, you also can connect FEM to other networks like, say, Lit or Medusa or other access control networks, or being able to use zero-knowledge computation platforms like ZK Lambda that the Lurk Lab is making. So think of being able to use decentralized access controls and data privacy in the computations. Now, people are also building the retrieval market side of Filecoin. So think Filecoin Saturn is a CDN project with now over 1,300 points of presence, which is a huge number of flops relative to many other CDNs in the world. And all the payouts and retrieval rewards for Filecoin Saturn are now going to be flowing through FEM. And later on, the entire model for how to measure the CDN itself and how to evaluate the contribution from parties and so on will be done entirely through FEM, which will be a super cool application. We're also seeing data DAOs, which is a use case that I find super exciting. Communities are going to be able to collectively curate useful data and then govern and sell the data access to that data, and then have a shared treasury for the preservation of that data and the growth of that data. So think of communities of data, communities of individuals or organizations that really care about some specific data sets, being able to pool their resources and work together to both safeguard and monetize that data. We're already seeing many applications starting to build these data DAOs, and so look forward to see how they grow over time. One use case that I'm extremely excited about is the compute over data network. So this is bringing large scale computation over Filecoin data. So think of being able to issue compute jobs similar to how you would do it in Amazon Lambda or EC2 or something like that, but over the Filecoin data. With the Bacalao project is spearheading this kind of computer data network, and we're already seeing lots of applications starting already using Bacalao. They've had hundreds of thousands of jobs. I think getting close to a million jobs. And this is like super exciting to see this level of adoption on kind of like what's a very early project and early network. One of the example use cases that I find super exciting is using machine learning models, like generative AI models, directly through Bacalao and through FPM. So already there's applications where you can kind of send a prompt, get an image generated, and then be able to directly store that image on Filecoin and back it up long term, add it to perpetual storage, or like immediately mint an NFT and so on. So it's going to be the intersection of crypto and AI is going to be super, super interesting to watch. Now, I foresee that we're going to have many different compute networks that map to different parts of the kind of verifiability, privacy, and performance triangle. And so for each of these kind of spots in this triangle, we're going to see different compute networks form. And so we're tuning Filecoin to be a great layer 1 network to support all of these other networks as L2s on top of it. So many different compute networks are going to start between this year and the next couple of years. They're going to be homing in Filecoin. And through this, we can get to massive scale data science to be able to do large scale computation and data analysis and all of the types of work that people are used to in a normal centralized cloud with huge clusters of compute jobs. That's the kind of operation that we are bringing to Filecoin. And if we can do this right, we can then set up the right ground to be able to handle the computation required by the massive scale applications that run most of the internet traffic in the world today. So that's kind of like what we're targeting. So again, join the community of builders in the network. This is a super exciting time to be part of the network. It's very early days. Like it's only been 1 month, and already we have all of these builders deploying their applications and systems on the network. Like I mentioned before, there's a huge need for lots of DeFi primitives, and those are getting started. It's a kind of an interesting note that in most blockchain networks, some of the early groups that deploy to a network become some of the long-term very successful DeFi protocols. So this is a great time to get started and deploy basic DeFi primitives to the Filecoin network. And we also make sure to check out all of the different programs that are out there for builders. There's, of course, hackathons and grants. There's thousands of hackers using those. There's accelerators. So there's accelerator programs around the Filecoin community. Over 250 different startups in our community have raised over $200 million across 20 different accelerator programs connected to our network. And from there, there's, of course, PhilVC, which is a way to connect startups in their ecosystem to capital to be able to fundraise for later rounds. So this is a phenomenal network to be able to start new Web3 startups. And here's another way of visualizing the same kind of model where we're tuning for this pipeline to be able to support many builders around this ecosystem to be able to go from early experimentation with ideas to validate their products, to start their startups, get traction, and grow the business. So come join the community. There's a ton of different Filecoin events around the world. Right now, we're having Phil Hong Kong right here through this week. So check out the schedule. You can go to the website and you can check the schedule there. There's lots of stuff going on Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And there's D-Store HK, which is a specific event for Filecoin storage providers. And if you're interested in that, definitely check it out. So again, the Filecoin master plan is to build the world's largest decentralized storage network, then to onboard and safeguard humanity's data, and then to bring computation to the data to enable web scale apps. We've launched the FEM in the last month. We've seen an enormous amount of growth just in the last 30 days. It's amazing to see the community adopting FEM, building applications, deploying them to the network, and growing. And look forward to a super awesome 2023 and 2024. All right, thanks so much, and see you around.
Thank you. Thank you, Juan, for your insightful speech. Thank you very much.